All right, tea family. Pull up a chair, pour it hot, and settle all the way in because what unfolded on Twitter Spaces last night was not a diss, was not a subtweet, and was not a soft little shady jab dressed up in a caption. This was Cardi B, full volume, full venom, full receipts, full 9 months of pressure on court, going scorched earth on BIA in real time, on a live audio feed, while thousands of people listened breathless. And Cardi B did not hold a single syllable back. Cardi B named names. Cardi B pulled up dates. Cardi B called BIA a weird-ass hoe to her digital face. And by the time Cardi B was finished, half of hip-hop Twitter was on the floor, and the other half was rewinding the audio, trying to catch every single word. If you have been anywhere near social media in the last 12 hours, you already know the internet has not looked this shaken since the last time Cardi B decided to speak plainly on a live microphone. And I am telling you right now, this is the story of the year in urban entertainment, and we are going to walk through every single layer of it. Now, here's where it turns, because this whole ordeal did not even start with Cardi B. This entire earthquake began with Doja Cat of all people. Doja Cat was on a live stream doing what Doja Cat does, being unpredictable, being funny, being that chaotic neutral internet personality the fans love her for. And during that stream, Doja Cat said something about BIA. We don't have the full clip pinned down yet, but whatever Doja Cat said, it was enough to send BIA sprinting to Twitter with a public apology so soft and so polished it could have been written by a publicist on a deadline. BIA wrote, and I'm quoting her directly here, "Thank you, Doja Cat. I genuinely apologize for anything I ever said that was shady. I appreciate you playing my songs. I've always liked your music as well. Wishing you nothing but peace, love, and blessings." Look at the vocabulary. Peace, love, blessings. That is the language of a woman trying very hard to close a door. That is BIA in full damage control mode, sanding down every rough edge, because BIA knew Doja Cat has a fan base that does not play, and BIA was not about to catch smoke from two directions at once. But the internet? The internet does not let doors close. The internet kicks them back open. And that is exactly what happened next. A fan slid into BIA's replies and dropped a question that changed the entire trajectory of the night. The fan asked, "Can we talk about this and how awful it is?" A loaded question, a baited question, the kind of question that dangles a hook and waits. And BIA, bless her, bit right down on it. BIA fired back. Okay then. And started talking about how everything she had said before was true. All of it. Every last accusation from the diss track. Every last insinuation. All of it, according to BIA, 100% factual. Now let this land. One paragraph earlier, BIA was writing paragraphs about peace, love, and blessings. One paragraph later, BIA was standing on the entire diss track catalog. That is not a mood swing. That is BIA telling on herself in real time. Real talk though, you cannot say the words, "It's all true," in public about Cardi B and expect Cardi B not to hear it. Cardi B hears everything. Cardi B lives on the internet the same way we do. Cardi B has notifications turned all the way up and a Twitter Spaces button she is never afraid to push. So the moment Cardi B saw those words, "It's all true," the countdown started. And it did not take long. Peep this though, before Cardi B even opened her mouth on Spaces, BIA was still typing. Another user came at her and said something along the lines of, "I guess this is mature, but you kind of repeated the same mistake again years later. I felt this way when I thought Nicki was authentic. I subscribed to that mentality too." And BIA came back swinging with, "I didn't repeat anything. This isn't about that. Whatever I said about that other B word, I stand on it, and I'll never take it back." Thank you. Read that again. She stands on it. She'll never take it back. Those are not the words of a woman preparing to de-escalate. Those are the words of a woman lighting the fuse a second time, while the first fuse was still smoking. That is BIA daring Cardi B to swing back, and Cardi B has never in her life turned down a public dare. That is when Cardi B logged on. That is when the space opened. That is when hip-hop Twitter collectively lost its mind. Screenshots started flying. Group chats lit up. Fan pages boosted the link across every platform. Within minutes, the room had thousands of listeners, and Cardi B was just getting warmed up. Cardi B opened cold. No preamble. No warm-up. No polite hello. Cardi B came in asking one question over and over. What's true? What's true? What's all true? Tell me what's all true. Because I can tell you some truth right now. That is Cardi B in her most dangerous form. That is Cardi B when Cardi B has decided the gloves are off, the manicure is a weapon, and the receipts folder is unlocked. Cardi B said, and I quote, "Let's talk about some truths, right? Let's talk about truth. Let me tell you about a lot of these weird-ass females in the industry, especially this year. Let me tell you about this weird-ass hoe." Make no mistake about it, Cardi B was not freestyling. Cardi B had this speech coded up in her head for months. You could hear the rehearsal and the pacing. You could hear the receipts sitting on her desk. And then Cardi B dropped the bomb that changed the whole game. Cardi B said she had it on recording. Cardi B said, "This hoe wanted to be friends with me so bad, and I got this on recording, because I was talking to this female." Recording. On the record. Digital evidence. In a beef where BIA had been claiming the moral high ground for years, Cardi B just casually mentioned she had audio. And in the culture we live in right now, where every rumor gets fact-checked by an anonymous file drop, that one sentence is worth 100 subtweets. Now let this next part sit with you, because this is where Cardi B stopped being petty and started being surgical. Cardi B explained the whole backstory. According to Cardi B, BIA had been sending messengers to Cardi B for years, friends, mutuals, even Cardi B's ex, all delivering the same nervous line. "Tell Cardi, I don't have a problem with her." Over and over. "Tell Cardi, I don't have a problem with her." Cardi B named her friend Tisa as one of the go-betweens. Cardi B said BIA sent everybody. Everybody. And Cardi B's response the whole time was the same. "I don't have a problem with her either. I don't like to pick and choose. If a female does a song with somebody and it benefits her career, I don't care. I stay out of people's situations." That was Cardi B's peace posture. That was Cardi B being the bigger person. That was Cardi B doing what Cardi B says she has always done, minding her business, keeping her circle small, staying out of industry politics. And according to Cardi B on that Twitter Spaces, BIA broke that peace not once, not twice, but repeatedly, publicly, and eventually with lies about Cardi B's marriage. That is a pattern. That is not a slip. That is a woman who, according to Cardi B, kept coming back to the same door and kicking it just to see if Cardi B would swing. Here is how Cardi B laid out the timeline. Cardi B said BIA got mad because BIA thought Cardi B had copied her, specifically on a track that shared a sample or a similar production element with a Missy Elliott record BIA had worked with. And Cardi B said the two of them actually got on the phone. Grown women. Adult conversation. Cardi B explained the sample situation. Cardi B pointed out, and this is important, that samples get reused all the time in hip-hop. Cardi B brought up Coi Leray as an example. Cardi B said, "Me and Coi Leray have the same sample on a song. Does that mean Coi Leray was copying me or I was copying her? No, that's how sampling works." That is Cardi B teaching the industry a mini class on copyright and clearance while the entire internet is holding its breath. Cardi B did not have to break that down. Cardi B chose to. That's Cardi B being reasonable. That is Cardi B calmly explaining an industry standard practice to a peer. And according to Cardi B, the two of them ended that call like adults. Case closed. Move on. Except BIA did not move on. Because right after that phone call, according to Cardi B, BIA popped back up online accusing Cardi B of copying one of her music videos too. And this is where the ice in Cardi B's voice becomes a blowtorch. Cardi B fired back with the single most devastating line of the entire Spaces. Cardi B said, "Bitch, who the hell wants to copy you? Who the hell wants to be like you? I don't even think your nieces want to be like you. You're so trash. You are nothing that I look up to." That line is not just an insult. That line is a career-ending kind of framing, because Cardi B is not saying, "You copied me." Cardi B is saying, "You are not worth copying." That distinction is everything in this culture. That line right there, that line is the reason this space is going to be studied. Cardi B did not just insult BIA. Cardi B invalidated the entire premise that BIA was someone worth copying in the first place. Cardi B took the ceiling out from under BIA's foot. And then Cardi B kept going. Cardi B said, "There's females that are fire. There are females I think can rap, or they've got a certain type of look, or they dress a certain type of way that I like. You don't have any of that. There is nothing about you that I want to be like or look like. You don't inspire me for nothing." And then Cardi B pulled out the list. Oh yes, Cardi B pulled out the receipts of who actually inspires Cardi B. Cardi B named Lady Gaga. Cardi B named Beyonce. Cardi B named Rihanna. Cardi B named Madonna. Cardi B said those are the women that inspire Cardi B. Those are the icons Cardi B looks up to. Not BIA. Never BIA. And by name-checking those four legends in a single breath, Cardi B did something quietly brutal. Cardi B put BIA on a scale with the greatest female performers of the last 5 decades and then said, "You don't even register." That is not a diss. That is a hierarchy. That is Cardi B mapping the terrain of the entire industry and pointedly leaving BIA off the map. Let this audio speak for itself for a moment. What Cardi B built in that spaces was not a diss. It was a demolition of a mythology. BIA had spent years positioning herself as the underdog with the pen, the female MC keeping it real, the one who wasn't afraid to name names in the mainstream. And Cardi B, in about 11 minutes of raw live audio, took a wrecking ball to the entire framework. Every hook BIA had ever built her brand on was suddenly on trial in the court of public opinion, and Cardi B was both the prosecutor and the witness. But the layers on this one go way deeper. Because Cardi B was not just there to defend her music or her sampling choices. Cardi B was there for a much more personal reason. And this is where the story stops being about rap and starts being about a marriage, a baby, and a lie that Cardi B is not letting anyone forget. Here is what Cardi B said on the spaces in her own words. Cardi B said BIA went to one of Offset's friends. Cardi B specifically said, one of my ex-husband's friend, and told this friend that Cardi B had been cheating on Offset. According to Cardi B, this happened months ago. According to Cardi B, when BIA was posting the diss track and doing the whole song and dance online, Cardi B had not actually done anything. Cardi B had not stepped outside the marriage. Cardi B had not cheated. The rumor BIA was spreading was, according to Cardi B, a total fabrication. That is the accusation that turned the whole night into something bigger than a rap beef. That is the accusation with legal implications, marital implications, and reputational implications all layered on top of each other. Now stay with me, because Cardi B walked the whole timeline. Cardi B said her ex-husband, Offset, knows exactly why Cardi B eventually left the marriage. Cardi B said she found out something. She did not spell out what, and she confronted Offset. Cardi B said she told Offset, if I find out this stuff is true and you didn't tell the truth out of your own mouth, you're going to see how I move. You are not going to do me the way you did me the last time. That is a woman drawing a line in the sand. That is a woman putting her husband on formal notice. That is a woman who has been burned before and is not walking into that fire twice. And Cardi B said the timeline matters. Cardi B said this all went down around April. Cardi B said she was pregnant with her daughter at the time. Pregnant, vulnerable, emotional, exhausted. And according to Cardi B, right in the middle of all of that, BIA was going around calling Cardi B's phone. Cardi B literally said out loud on the spaces, dead ass, stop calling me. BIA was calling. And BIA was, according to Cardi B, simultaneously talking to male rappers and to a producer who hangs around Offset, telling all of them the same thing. That Cardi B was cheating. That Cardi B was disloyal. That Cardi B was doing dirt behind Offset's back. And Cardi B, remember, was carrying a whole human being at the time. Read that again. Cardi B's challenge was blunt and it was public. Cardi B said, look for any proof. Look for a text. Look for a DM. Look for anything I ever sent, spoke, or wrote. Look for a date. Look for a name. There is nothing. It was made up. That is the moment where the whole beef stopped being playful. That is the moment Cardi B stopped rapping and started prosecuting. That is Cardi B inviting the internet to fact-check her, on the record, in real time, because Cardi B knew there was nothing to find. And this is the part that made Cardi B's voice actually crack with rage. Cardi B said, that just goes to show you that these females are jealous of everything you have going on in your life. This is why you pray over your kids, over your success, over the way you look, over the way people love you. That right there is Cardi B stepping outside the beef and into a life lesson. Cardi B was giving a sermon in the middle of a war. And the audience in that space was hearing something they rarely hear from Cardi B, grief. Real, raw, tired grief. This was not the Cardi B of WAP or the punchline queen of red carpet interviews. This was Cardi B, the woman, the mother, defending a life she has spent a decade building. Here's where it turns even sharper. Cardi B admitted something powerful on the spaces. Cardi B said she was in an especially vulnerable moment when BIA started attacking her, pregnant, emotionally shaky, going through a marital crisis. Cardi B said, and this is the quote, "Once you mention my kids, I was like, I'm going to make this female regret it. You can diss me over anything. You can fake diss me over everything. Mention my kids, and I'm going to take that stuff out your mouth." That is the line. That is the trigger. That is the reason Cardi B is out here on Twitter Spaces in what is supposed to be a mature era of her career, back on her old-school warpath. Because in Cardi B's world, everything else is negotiable. The music, the samples, the videos, the industry, all of it can be brushed off. But the kids? The kids are the untouchable third rail. And according to Cardi B, BIA touched that third rail. So now BIA gets the smoke. And this is where every mother in that space, every mother listening on the replay, every mother scrolling the transcripts today, silently nodded. Because that instinct is not fame. That instinct is not fortune. That instinct is biology. Peep this though, the way Cardi B framed the aftermath was telling. Cardi B said, "Tuck for all you females, and I don't give a damn because all y'all are going to do is bring out old text messages. That's all y'all got against me. Mind you, you are a 21-year-old. Stop playing with me. All of y'all need to stop playing with me and shut up. Because it could really get like that. Now let that land." A 21-year-old. Cardi B was reminding the internet that in this whole feud, BIA is not actually the elder stateswoman. Cardi B has been in this industry longer. Cardi B has weathered more. Cardi B has swung on more challengers. And Cardi B is not the one who should be underestimated. That age gap is not a small detail. That age gap is Cardi B saying, "I have been fighting these battles since you were a child, and you thought you were going to check me?" Cardi B added, "The times I was being nice to you, you took my kindness for weakness. You took my kindness for weakness, ho. That's it." And there, right there, is the thesis of the entire spaces. Cardi B was polite. Cardi B was diplomatic. Cardi B did the phone call. Cardi B did the sample explanation. Cardi B did the peacekeeping messenger dance for years. And BIA read all of that as weakness. And now Cardi B is correcting the record in the loudest way possible. There is a whole generation of female rappers who need to write that down and pin it to the top of their notes app. But the story doesn't close there, because Cardi B did something at the end of the spaces that took the whole thing to another emotional level. Cardi B pivoted from rage into reflection. Cardi B started talking about faith. Cardi B said, "The thing about it is, y'all don't understand. I'm a very blessed person. I really believe I was anointed. I was born anointed. God has shown me over and over that I'm anointed." That is Cardi B walking a very specific line. Cardi B is claiming spiritual protection while simultaneously going nuclear on another woman. And Cardi B knows the tension. Cardi B admitted, "Sometimes God tells me, chill, Cardi, chill. Because once you overdo it, then it's bad. I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to be a bad person, because when you're a bad person, God doesn't bless you. And I want to keep being blessed. I want God to bless me and my kids." That is Cardi B doing something few celebrities in the middle of a beef ever do. Cardi B was publicly monitoring her own tone. Cardi B was checking herself in real time. Cardi B was saying, "I know I'm going hard, and I'm about to pull back, because I still want the blessing." And that particular blend of spiritual accountability and raw street-level anger is the exact register that has kept Cardi B's fanbase locked in for almost a decade. Cardi B does not play church lady. Cardi B does not play saint. Cardi B tells you she is trying, and that transparency is the glue. Cardi B said, "I don't want the internet attacking that girl. Now, if BIA ever sees me, I know it's going to be on site. I know BIA is going to want to fight me, but it is what it is. I'm with everything. I don't want to feel like I did too much." That is a Cardi B nobody was ready to hear. That is Cardi B on Spaces admitting she may have gone too far, even while defending every word. That is a woman working through a live crisis of conscience with an audience of thousands. And then Cardi B closed it out with a simple string of thank yous. "Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Curtain down. Mic off. Space over. Internet on fire." Let's shift gears entirely to what this actually means, because the ripples from this spaces are going to shake industries. First, the recording. Cardi B claimed on live audio that Cardi B has a recording of BIA basically begging to be friends. If that recording drops, this beef is not a beef anymore. It's a burial. Every fan who bought into BIA's tough girl with the pin persona will have to hear the receipts. Whether Cardi B ever releases that audio is now the single biggest open question in hip-hop this week. Cardi B is holding a nuclear option in her back pocket. And Cardi B loves to remind people that Cardi B never bluffs about receipts. Anybody who has followed Cardi B's career knows Cardi B has a habit of eventually releasing whatever Cardi B threatens to release. That is not a maybe. That is a pattern. Second, the offset factor. Cardi B told the entire internet, in her own words, that she did not cheat on Offset during the period BIA was spreading rumors that she did. That is a legal-grade denial. That is Cardi B on record, publicly, time-stamped, cleaning up her own narrative. If Offset ever wanted to weaponize that rumor in a custody or divorce context, Cardi B just put the counter-narrative on the permanent internet record. Cardi B is not just defending Cardi B against BIA. Cardi B is defending Cardi B against a future courtroom. Read the strategy on that. Cardi B is playing three-dimensional chess, while everyone else on Twitter is arguing over who won the round. Third, the industry chain. Cardi B named, without naming, male rappers and a producer that hangs out with Offset as the people BIA allegedly spoke to. That is Cardi B lighting a match near the ceiling. Because now, every producer in Offset's circle is going to be asked, was it you? Did BIA come to you? Every male rapper who has ever been in a room with BIA is now under a fresh layer of scrutiny. Cardi B did not need to drop names. Cardi B just needed to drop the pattern. And now the industry will do the math on its own. That is how veterans throw grenades. You do not need to point at anyone. You just need to widen the frame and let the guilty flinch first. Fourth, and this is the one people are not talking about enough, the Nicki Minaj reference. Remember when that fan replied to BIA and said, I felt this way when I thought Nicki was authentic. I subscribe to that mentality too. That is not a random comment. That is a fan trying to pull BIA into a Nicki alliance narrative, and BIA batted it away with. This isn't about that. Whatever I said about that other B word, I stand on it. That is BIA refusing to be pinned to a Nicki team publicly, which means, in the current climate of hip-hop, BIA is playing a game of chess most fans have not even noticed yet. Cardi B, meanwhile, said nothing about Nicki on the spaces. Nothing. Which itself is a message. Cardi B was not going to widen a two-woman beef into a war of factions. Cardi B kept the target narrow. That is discipline. Real talk, though. The reason this whole night hit different is because Cardi B is not the same Cardi B who used to swing at people on Instagram Live. Cardi B is a mother of multiple children now. Cardi B is navigating a very public divorce. Cardi B is in the middle of dropping her second studio album. Cardi B has everything to lose and everything to protect. And when a woman in Cardi B's position drops the polish and goes back to Bronx Block Cardi in front of thousands of people, that is not weakness. That is a warning shot to an entire industry. That is Cardi B saying, I still remember where I came from, and I still know how to move when I need to. Because every female rapper watching this spaces just got the same message. Do not play with Cardi B. Do not send the messengers. Do not spread the marriage rumors. Do not aim at the kids. If BIA is a 21-year-old, as Cardi B pointed out, then imagine what Cardi B is willing to do to somebody older, established, and inside the industry ecosystem. Cardi B is essentially posting a bounty on anyone who has been whispering behind the scenes. Cardi B just declared open season on the Gossip Network. And let's not skip over the fandom. Because within 30 minutes of Cardi B logging off spaces, the internet had done what the internet always does. It had gone full forensic on BIA. Old tweets were being pulled up. Old interviews were being replayed. Old lyrics were being reanalyzed. Every appearance BIA has ever made in the last 3 years is now being scanned for hidden Cardi B references. And every appearance Cardi B has ever made is being re-listened to for hidden BIA subliminals. The Barty gang mobilized within the hour. The war is not over. The war is just now getting its second wind on TikTok, on Instagram, on Reddit, on X. Every timeline is a battleground, and BIA's name is trending on all of them. BIA has not responded to the spaces yet at the time of this recording, and that silence is itself a response. Because BIA had been on Twitter all day firing off replies, doubling down, refusing to take anything back. And then Cardi B opened her mouth on live audio, and BIA went quiet. Whether BIA is drafting a diss track behind the scenes, calling a lawyer, calling a publicist, or calling nobody at all, the world is watching that account. Every hour BIA stays quiet after Cardi B's spaces, the narrative hardens. Every hour BIA stays quiet, Cardi B's version of events becomes the accepted version. Silence in a media war is not neutral. Silence is a scoreboard. Here's where it turns for BIA. If BIA responds hot, BIA plays into Cardi B's frame. That BIA is desperate, jealous, and can't leave Cardi B alone. If BIA responds soft, BIA looks like she folded under Cardi B's pressure. If BIA doesn't respond at all, BIA lets Cardi B keep the last word. And in hip-hop, the last word usually wins the round. It's a lose-lose-lose triangle. And Cardi B built that triangle brick by brick on live audio. That is the mark of a veteran. Cardi B did not just win the night. Cardi B engineered a maze BIA cannot walk out of. Now, some people are going to say Cardi B went too far. Some people are already tweeting that Cardi B punched down at somebody younger, less famous, less resourced. Some people are pointing to Cardi B's own admission. I feel like I did too much, as proof that Cardi B knows she overshot. That is a fair conversation to have. But you also have to weigh what BIA said. If Cardi B is telling the truth about BIA spreading the cheating rumor to Offset's inner circle during Cardi B's pregnancy, then this is not a punch down. This is a woman with kids defending her marriage, her name, and her reputation from a coordinated whisper campaign. That framing changes everything about who is the aggressor and who is the responder. And there is one more layer here that nobody is discussing, the community layer. Cardi B invoked God multiple times on the spaces. Cardi B talked about anointing. Cardi B talked about wanting to stay blessed. That language matters because it aligns Cardi B with an audience that responds to spiritual framing. The black church-going, prayer warrior, God don't like ugly community. Cardi B did not just defend Cardi B legally. Cardi B did not just defend Cardi B commercially. Cardi B defended Cardi B spiritually. Cardi B basically told the audience, I am the one being tested, and God has my back. That framing has consequences. That framing wins allies who otherwise might have stayed neutral in a rap beef. Because if you strip away the profanity and the shouting and the Bronx cadence and the live audio chaos, Cardi B's core message on that spaces was simple. It was, I have been kind for too long. I was pregnant. My kids were dragged in. My marriage was lied about. And I am done being polite about it. And there is not a mother in America who cannot understand that message on some level. That is why the clips are already crossing over from urban blogs into mainstream feeds. Cardi B just made a beef with BIA into a broader statement about motherhood and gossip. BIA, on the other hand, is walking into the morning with an entirely different problem. BIA now has to explain the "it's all true" tweet. BIA now has to explain the years of messenger sending. BIA now has to explain whether there really was a phone call between BIA and Cardi B where things were resolved like adults. BIA now has to explain, if asked, whether BIA really did go to Offset's people with cheating allegations. Every one of those questions carries its own PR risk, and BIA has to answer all of them under the pressure of a Cardi B fanbase that just watched their queen go to war. Here is my read on where this goes next. Cardi B is not going to release the recording. Not yet. Cardi B is going to sit on that recording like a live grenade and use its existence as leverage. Every time BIA is tempted to speak, the shadow of that recording will slow BIA down. That is the smartest move Cardi B could make, and Cardi B knows it. The threat of the recording is more powerful than the recording itself. Cardi B has been in this game long enough to understand that a weapon in the holster is worth more than a weapon in the hand. Meanwhile, BIA has one narrow, difficult path. BIA has to publicly walk back the "it's all true" claim without conceding the beef. BIA has to explain the discrepancy between the "I apologize to Doja Cat" tone and the "I stand on it" tone in the same day. BIA has to somehow make peace with the audience without making peace with Cardi B. And BIA has to do all of that while every hip-hop podcast in the country is loading up their microphones for the next 48 hours. Doja Cat, by the way, has said nothing publicly since BIA's apology. Doja Cat lit the match, and Doja Cat is now watching the whole house burn from a safe distance. Which, if you know Doja Cat, is completely on brand. Doja Cat is the god of plausible deniability. Doja Cat can start a war with one sentence and disappear into her next visual album drop. Doja Cat did the drive-by and moved on, and now Cardi B and BIA are in the aftermath cleaning up glass. Offset, another silent party. Offset has said nothing about the spaces. Offset has liked no posts. Offset has retweeted no fans. Offset is, at least publicly, staying entirely out of it. Whether Offset is texting Cardi B behind the scenes, whether Offset is texting BIA behind the scenes, whether Offset is texting the alleged producer behind the scenes, nobody knows. But Offset's silence in the middle of a Cardi B war is itself a data point. It is not the loud, aggressive Offset of previous public disputes. It is the calm Offset of a man who knows he is in a legal chess match with a mother of his children. That silence tells you Offset understands the stakes. Now, let me tell you what I am watching for in the next 72 hours. First, does BIA go on any podcast? The Breakfast Club, Angie Martinez, the Joe Budden podcast, anywhere? Because whichever mic BIA picks first will tell us who BIA thinks the sympathetic audience is. Second, does Cardi B post again? Cardi B has a pattern. Cardi B releases the pressure once, then re-releases it 48 hours later once she's had time to see the online reaction. Third, does that recording surface? Because if that recording surfaces, all of this analysis becomes a footnote to the moment BIA's voice is played back to the internet. Fourth, and this is the one I am really watching, who does the rest of the industry side with? Every female rapper with a platform right now is being watched. Silence will be interpreted as neutrality. A retweet will be interpreted as allegiance. A vague quote tweet about peace or female unity will be interpreted as diplomacy. And a full-throated statement in defense of either side will be interpreted as a declaration. Nicki Minaj's team is being watched. Megan Thee Stallion's team is being watched. Latto's team is being watched. Ice Spice's team is being watched. Every one of these women knows that in a beef this loud, staying quiet is itself a stance. This is the moment where alliances get exposed whether you want them exposed or not. The final piece, the fans. Because this is where Cardi B always wins. Cardi B has one of the most mobilized fan bases in modern hip-hop. The Barty Gang does not sleep. The Barty Gang does not blink. The Barty Gang runs coordinated timelines. The Barty Gang finds the receipts. The Barty Gang chases down every syllable of every tweet. And within 24 hours, the Barty Gang will have transformed BIA's entire online history into a public evidence board. That is not something a publicist can neutralize. That is grassroots warfare. And the Barty Gang has been training for this moment since the Bodak Yellow era. And this is why I keep telling you all, Cardi B is not just a rapper. Cardi B is a movement with a fan base. Cardi B is a brand with a militia. And when Cardi B goes live on Spaces the way Cardi B went live last night, the algorithm and the audience move in the same direction at the same time. You are not just watching a beef. You are watching a coordinated cultural mobilization. Every clip, every screenshot, every soundbite is a weapon in a broader information war, and Cardi B has been arming her audience for the last 10 years without even realizing it. Let me also point out something the mainstream press is going to miss. Cardi B did this on Twitter Spaces, not Instagram Live, not TikTok Live, not YouTube. Spaces. That platform choice matters, because Spaces is audio only. There is no video for BIA's team to dissect for a moment of weakness. There is no thumbnail of Cardi B looking tired. There is only pure, weaponized voice. Cardi B chose the medium that maximized the message and minimized the visual counterattack. That is a professional move dressed up in a Bronx accent. So what's the verdict? Was Cardi B justified? Was BIA baiting a giant she wasn't ready to fight? Was Doja Cat the actual mastermind of the whole night? Was Offset watching the entire thing from a silent phone screen somewhere in a hotel room? Is that recording ever going to see the light of day? And is BIA about to drop the diss track of her career or the apology of her career in the next 48 hours? Drop your read on this down below. I am reading every single comment. I want to know, do you think Cardi B went too far? Do you think BIA had it coming? Do you believe the recording is real? And who do you think is going to swing next? Give me your unfiltered take, because this comment section is about to be more entertaining than the Spaces itself. Because I promise you, this story is not done.